Councilwoman McKinney. I just wanted to get you. If everyone could please take their seats so we can get started. We have a really full schedule today. If everyone could please make sure you have your cell phones on silent. And I'd like to welcome Kenner Councilwoman Christy McKinney, who's going to lead us in our prayer this morning.
Thank you, Carolyn. If everyone would bow their heads. Dear Lord, thank you, or you can stand if you like. Thank you for this opportunity to get together to discuss the city of Kenner and the state of the city this year. Watch over us and lead us to the path you choose. Guide our actions and words to speak wisely and to act kindly. May we have much success and a great sense of community in the coming year. Amen.
Could you please stand and join in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Grant, again for leading us in the pledge today. My name is Carolyn Barrett, and I work for Visit Kenner, and I'm lucky enough to be KBA president this year. And I want to thank you all for coming. We're excited about the state of the city today. I've got some notes here. First of all, I hope that I don't miss anyone, but I'd like to recognize our elected officials. We have Mike Segure, Kenner Council District 2, Glenn Hayes, Kenner Council District 3, George Brannigan, District 4, Brian Brennan, District 5, Christy McKinney, Council at Large, Tom Wilmot, Council at Large, Kenner CAO, Deborah Fauché, Deputy CAO, Chad Pitfield, and it doesn't look like Dominic has made it yet, but he's on his way. Oh, I'm sorry, he walked in as I was speaking. Jefferson Parish Councilman Dominic Impostata, Senator Kurt Talbot, Representative Joe Stagney, Constable Jason Ural, former Kenner Police Chief Nick Kangemi, Jefferson Parish Deputy COO Valerie Brolin, former Parish Assessor Lawrence Shahardy, and Jefferson School Board Member Sandy Donopoulos. And again, I hope I didn't miss anyone. Real quickly, I would like to thank our table sponsor, and again, our special guest, of course, today, Mayor Benzon. I'd like to thank our table sponsors today, Mayor Zahn, the Kenner Council, Kenner Economic Development, Jefferson Parish Councilman Dominic Impostata, Ochsner, CRC, Metairie Bank, Gulf Coast Bank, Access Health, Visit Kenner, and Leadville, Hunter, and Janice. So thank you for also sponsoring tables today. And we also have some corporate members who support us all year long, and I'd like to thank them very quickly. Cox, I'm so sorry, I missed Cox off our table sponsors. I'm sorry about that, Riza. Our corporate members, Cox, Metairie Bank, Gulf Coast Bank, ABC Title, First Lake, Mediation Clinic of Louisiana, Chase Bank, Ochsner, Acadian Plumbing, Lucky Dog, Ron's Jewelers, AC Ambulance, Absolute Real Estate, One Stop Financial Group, Ron's Jewelers, I think I said that, Elmwood Self-Storage, Classic Insurance, and Messina's Catering. So thank you all. Very quickly, we normally do our nominations at this time, but we have a very full schedule today, so we wanted to let you know that the nominations for our 2022 board are listing on the website, so please go take a look at those, and we will be sending out ballots within the next week. And now, very quickly, I'd like to invite Mary Sharon Howland up to talk about our next big event, which is our holiday party.
Good afternoon. Welcome, Mayor, all elected officials, honored guests, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is our premier event of the year, the State of the City. It's going to be interesting to see the state our city is in with all the challenges, let me just use that word, that we have experienced over the past couple of years. So I'm anxious to hear from our mayor. But I'm here to talk about December the 8th. It's an important night for this organization. It's our holiday give back party. You know, we're a business organization, but over the past 20 some odd years, we've given probably $120,000 back into the community. All the proceeds from this event will go to two nonprofits, the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation and the Kenner Fire Department. All the proceeds, even the Kenner Business Organization contributes $2,000 of our money to the event. The entry-level sponsorship is only $100, and you get one ticket to the event. You get a $35 ticket for your $100. So we have something on every table. The top sponsorship level right now is $1,500. If you'd like to give more than that, we have a special name for anyone that would like to go above the $1,500. It's going to be Wednesday, December the 8th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. at Messina's on Williams Boulevard. Only $35. We're going to have beautiful gift baskets. We're going to have a 50-50, and like I said, all the money goes back to the community. Just grab any one of us, call the numbers on the flyer. We'd love to have you. If you can't do the $100 sponsorship, just come and join us for $35 and help out your neighbors in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Sharon. Mike Theory is going to come up and introduce our new members.
So at this time, I'd like to go over some of the new member renewals. We have Chase Bank that renewed, also Ron's Jewelers and Elmwood Storage. We also have new members, Lee Hall Russell, attorney at law, Ed Rapierre Jr., the Rapierre Law Firm, Taislia Mejia from Mejia Counseling, and Michelle Lovett, Audubon Care Homes. So I'd like to give all of them a big round of applause. Thank you.
And we do have a busy schedule with the mayor's talk, and that's what we all came here for. So I'd like to invite up our Vice President, Kelly Hand, who's going to introduce our guest speaker for today.
Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome. Mayor Benzon, former District 3 Kenner City Councilman and District 4 Jefferson Parish Councilman, was elected mayor in December 2016 and took office in January 2017. He went on to win re-election to a full 4-year term as mayor in 2018. Mayor Zahn and his administration have demonstrated strong leadership through some of the most difficult, unprecedented challenges our city has ever experienced. Among them, a worldwide COVID pandemic, and most recently, destruction from Hurricane Ida. Mayor Zahn remains focused on economic development, quality of life, and the future of Kenner. He is a third-generation business owner with 3 decades of experience operating a business in Kenner, while at the same time taking a leadership role in civic and volunteer positions. Mayor Zahn graduated from John Curtis Christian School and the University of New Orleans. Thank you, Mayor Zahn, for always putting the people of Kenner first. Please welcome Mayor Ben Zahn.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank y'all for allowing me to come here and speak to you all. We'll do the same format as we did last year, a little more laid back so we can just get the message over to you all. Kelly talked about the pandemic and a storm, but it's been a pandemic, Zeta, pandemic, and then another storm that we all know about, Ida. So it's been a tough 1.5 to 2 years. Very, very challenging, but with the help of every city employee, the executive staff, the Kenner Police Department, all of our directors, the Kenner Fire Department, and our friends in the parish, on the parish council and our parish president, along with our state legislators, our state senators, we were able to move forward. So it's important that you know that. It's challenging, no excuses, but we have continued to move forward. By moving forward, I want to talk about Kenner's future, economic development. We didn't let that stop us. All the things that I talked about were not stopping this administration, this council, which was very important with moving forward with the city of Kenner, and making sure that economic development continues. That is the focus of our future. It is the focus of this coming year for sure, to make sure that everybody knows we are moving forward. It's from the river to the lake, and there's a lot of things going on that I want to talk about. The first thing we mentioned, we did a press conference, I believe, back in May or June, was the $450 million lakefront development proposal by Atlantis. This is huge. This will change the lakefront, totally change the lakefront. People like Warren Moon, Hall of Famer quarterback, Roy Jones Jr., a boxing champion, came to the city of Kenner, was there at the Pontchartrain Center, as you see pictured with me and also some of the members of the council. This will change the lakefront. You've heard me talk about it probably last year, but now it's more of a reality because now we did the press conference. Now we have investors that are invested in the city of Kenner in the lakefront. Boardwalks, restaurants, shopping, all those things will change the lakefront of the city of Kenner. Now this is probably without Ida, because this was before Ida, obviously, without Ida in the way, okay? They were talking about a groundbreaking this time next year, June. Might be delayed a little bit, but it's coming. It is a long process. It will take a while, but it's something that Kenner can look forward to for its future. Rivertown. We have invested a lot in Rivertown. There's a lot of things that we need to do down there. But the recommendations for the Esplanade Mall and redevelopment of Rivertown, which we did a town hall meeting on June 22nd with TSW that was hired by Economic Development, came in and did under a free grant, a grant to us, costing us nothing, to make sure what we need to do for the future of the city of Kenner. And this focused on Esplanade Mall and also Rivertown. There's a lot that can be done to the mall. Before Ida, they were talking about redevelopment with housing, apartments, condos, more of a city center, things like that, restaurants. Don't know what's going to happen with that now. We have to revise that a little bit. But when you focus on Rivertown, Rivertown should be something, a business mixed with residential. So that's what we're looking at for the future of Rivertown. Of course, Treasury Chest is a big component of the city of Kenner for capital improvements. When you look at what they do for each one of these council people's districts, capital improvements, all the capital money that's spent by the 5 districts and also the 2 at-larges, those capital projects done by the council comes from the Treasury Chest money. Also, it's the capital improvements that go to the Kenner Police Department, which help fund the Kenner Police Department. Now they're talking about land-based because now that's allowed. It is allowed for them to come land-based. That's going to be a big thing, a $90 million investment on a land-based casino. And the spot has not been determined yet, but they have looked at 2 spots in the city of Kenner right by the Pontchartrain Center, either there or on the parking lot across from it. Those things are still being worked out. That'll all still be addressed. But you realize $90 million investment there, and also a $450 million investment on the other side. Look at what's happening on that end of the city of Kenner. They've also been a very good sponsor helping us. The Kenner Food Bank, $50,000 this last year. Huge impact on our Kenner tourism, too. When you think about that land base and you think about Atlantis, look at the tourism that the Treasury Chest Casino will generate. I know they're here today. I don't know where Kim and her group are, but I appreciate what they do, along with all the people that are looking at the city of Kenner. This is something that's really unique. This is in District 4, Councilman Brannigan's district. It's the newest inclusion park, and it's the one here in the city of Kenner. 2 individuals from the city of Kenner, a husband and wife, I don't know if they're here or not, Arita and Brad Bohannon, who have been very, very community involved for years in different organizations, now have decided to raise money, put some personal money into it, and build an inclusion park. It's uniquely created for people with kids with physical and social barriers so that they will feel more comfortable. This will be located in the Miguez Park in District 4. It's kind of a secluded park, which is good for the kids. We got to keep an eye on it because there has been a few little issues that have popped up lately with it, with people vandalizing it. But it's something that will be good for the kids that will go there. It's open to everybody, too. Children and adults are all welcome. So I also want to thank the council. I believe all 7 council people also put monies in to help this project because there's also another little part of it that's for adults. So we appreciate everybody coming together. But this is Arita and Brad's idea. It's in tribute to one of her nephews, and it's something that's good for the city of Kenner, and I truly appreciate. It's the only one in the state, and I think one of 11 in the whole country. So really, really, really good and really nice of them to do this. New businesses. As we talk about economic development, the new businesses in the city of Kenner, 149 new business licenses this year. License renewals were over 2,000 and 26 ribbon cuttings. Now look, we do a lot of ribbon cuttings, and I know some people will say, oh, it's too many ribbon cuttings. But because of those ribbon cuttings and because of what we're doing, along with the council, we are attracting new businesses all the time. Sure, some businesses open up and some close, but that's just what happens in the economy. And we've had a lot of challenges while we've been doing that. But still, to pull off 149 new businesses and 26 ribbon cuttings with what we've had this year, Mary Sharon Holland does a great job doing that for our office. I do think we probably need to get back to that now, probably after the first of the year, but we took a little bit of a break on them because obviously the pandemic surge and also Ida, we couldn't do that. But you can see some of the stores that are listed there. Canada Discovery Health and Sciences, under the leadership of Patty Glazer. This is one of the leading schools with Divine Mercy down the street, St. Elizabeth, Divine Mercy Church, St. Elizabeth School down the street. But Canada Discovery had a setback, obviously. They wanted to open up in March of 2020. Just recently, I attended with Mr. Henry Shane the ribbon cutting of the Kenner Health and Sciences Discovery School here in the city of Kenner. What's really crazy is that 2,700, almost 2,800 kids are in the school, but they have a waiting list of 2,000 kids. That shows the leadership of what Patty Glazer is doing and how she's pulling that off and making it a school to come to. So I really appreciate the involvement of her, along with the other school down the street, St. Elizabeth. As we're talking about St. Elizabeth, back to Kenner, Mr. Danny Ream just was the co-chair, and you see him pictured there with Councilman Brennan, the district councilman. Divine Mercy had their Seafood Fest again. That shows St. Elizabeth School and Divine Mercy coming back, and I believe it was one of the first big events, at least one of the first school events in the city of Kenner since Ida, since the pandemic. So you see that coming back, and that's a big festival. I think they had the best year they've ever had this past year. That shows the contributions made by the Men's Club of Divine Mercy, which is connected to St. Elizabeth School. The Custom Cruises celebrated their 39th annual car show event, came back to the city of Kenner. The Baliata Festival was just recently. Councilman Segura and I attended that. As you see, we're eating something that was very good. And then also New Orleans Air Coolers Bugging the Big Easy show came back. Came to the city of Kenner. So we're attracting events, and we're also getting the events back. They're still interested in the city of Kenner, and I want to thank each one of these groups. And if I didn't mention your group, I'm sorry, because we have attracted a few others. You see that things are being attracted back to the city of Kenner. Culture and tourism. Your Kenner Business Association president, Carolyn Barrett, is also the economic Visit Kenner director for tourism here in the city of Kenner. It's a separate board made up of separate board members, and Carolyn is working for the city of Kenner and also Visit Kenner to make sure people are attracted to our city for tourism. This is extremely important. Room nights sold have been 371,000. Total occupancy has been 65% up in the first 8 months of this year. Kenner in Demand, the National Bikers Roundup group, has already booked almost 1,700 rooms for August of 2022, and future bookings are interested. What's good about this too, this group, led by Carolyn Barrett and also her board, is that I want to congratulate her on being the 4th-time winner of the Convention South Readers' Choice Award. So that shows that for 4 years straight, Carolyn and her board have been able to attract tourism to the city of Kenner. That's extremely important, Carolyn. And look, I've talked about tourism before. Without tourism, we're not really moving ahead, so that's important. And it's everybody working together to make that happen, but we appreciate what your group does. As we're talking about people being happy in the city of Kenner, I got to say, I think these are unheard of approval ratings that the residents told us back in April that they wanted to renew. I know it's a renewal, but some people see it as a tax, only as a new tax. It's not. It was a renewal. And that's a hard message to get out. And I want to thank the council and also our chief, because we all came together to make sure people know this is not a new tax. It's a renewal. It's not going to change anything. There was a little controversy because, assessments went up, so you see a slight increase, but that's not the council. That's not the administration. That is what happens when assessments go up. But just to see, 80% approval on fire. Garbage was 75%, and sewer was 77%. Garbage, anytime we look at garbage right now since March of last year, May of last year, we see how people are very happy. People are very happy, obviously, with the fire department. We need more help for the fire department, but they're very happy with the fire department. They're very happy with the way their sewer works, but also with garbage. And I got to say, Cindy Torres with IV Waste has changed garbage collection in the city of Kenner. I don't believe there's one city council person that would argue with that with me, nor I don't see many residents, unless they want to, many residents that say, I don't like IV Waste. So I want to thank Cindy Torres, who's seated at my table, for doing a great job in the city of Kenner. It's obvious that IV Waste is in the city of Kenner because every garbage can is black with a white IV written on it. So you can see it, it's all uniform, and I like that look, so I appreciate it, Sydney. So as we deal with infrastructure, the Duncan Canal project, I know, look, we've had a lot of excuses. I understand that. But we've had excuses because we've had legitimate issues. We've had them walk off the job because of the pandemic. We had a storm. We had another pandemic where they didn't walk off, but they reduced their crews, and then another storm hits. So it keeps getting delayed. But I gotta say, this was part of the 2030 projects that the former administration wanted to do, and I do support it because it changes that bridge. That bridge was dangerous. That bridge could no longer support the weight with wood pilings. We had to go to concrete pilings. We had to make that change. And of course, we get some aesthetic improvements, which we all love, we're all happy with that. But because of the things that have happened this past 2 years, it has been delayed again. The good news is, since last year, now it's 75% complete. So we're getting closer. The new projected completion date is March of 2022. I ask everybody to be patient. Elected officials, we hear what you say, but I'm always going to say this, and I think that whole table right there, and anybody, a former elected official would agree, we have to use these things too. So we're just as inconvenienced. We don't get a special pass to go around it. We have to use the bridge. We have to be inconvenienced also. It's something that's used by 3 districts and all the city because it's a main thoroughfare. So we will get it done. No excuses, but we have had a lot of challenges, and we have worked very closely with the state to complete that. As I talk about working with the state, it's important that you remember this project, if you don't go to that end of Kenner, but this is right near the police department, obviously going into the airport, this is a $125 million project, the Flyover. This is something my administration worked very closely with the council members that represent that area, Brian and Greg, to make sure that this is completed and the 2 at-larges. And I think the 5 of us have done a great job working with the state to get this done. It's very, very important that we continue to understand this is going to help the traffic flow. People have told us lately, well, you know what? We don't really see that traffic that you talked about. Well, of course you don't. We've had pandemics, and the air travel was down. You've had other things. Ida, obviously, air travel was down. But once that airport starts really getting rolling, you're going to need this flyover. So this is by I-10 in Loyola, like I said, by the Canal Police Department. Right in the middle of basically 2 districts, service in 2 districts, District 1 and District 5. It's something that we will look forward to be completed March of 2023. Infrastructure, very, very important, something I've worked very closely with Dominic Impostata with, and I appreciate his help. But to get to the point that we're working with Dominic, where I just heard today from the engineer that the notice to proceed, or the bid has been accepted, so that's good news. That will be for the breakwater. We have to do a breakwater. That's what we're working with Dominic with. And I appreciate Dominic's support and all his colleagues and the parish president. But you need to dredge it first, right? Because we all hear this, and I hear this not just from Glenn Hayes, but I hear it from the council people where people have boats, right? So I get the calls from the council people, we can't launch our boats. My resident can't launch their boat. I said, I understand. So I put my staff in charge of this to tackle this and look at it. We looked at buying the equipment, we looked at contracting with someone to come out there and actually dredge it. When we looked at the dollars, it made sense to go ahead and buy the equipment. Because I think for actually the same price, we were able to get the equipment. Now we have the equipment in storage. So now anytime we need to dredge it with getting a permit, which is not easy, getting the permit, we have the equipment, we can dredge it like that after we get the permit. So my message to everybody is, we hear it, we see it. I don't think any of us have a boat that's elected in the city of Kenner, but we hear it from our residents. So we know that it's tough to launch, but it's a process to get it. It's a process to get the permit. It's a process to make sure that we continue to service that area. After you get all that done, we were able to dredge it. And I think we were able to get 2 slips open. I know there's 4. We're doing some repairs. Ida hit. We got more repairs to do. There's a lot to do out there. But getting back to after it's dredged and after that breakwater is built, we won't have that dredging problem as much, because that breakwater that the parish is going to do for us is going to stop that silt from coming in. Every time they open that spillway, it's a cluster. I mean, it comes in and it settles in there, and we have a problem with it. So by getting this done with the parish, that's going to alleviate our problems. That's in the future. Bid is accepted today. That's still a process, but we will keep you updated on it. This is something that's been very popular with our citizens and very popular with the council. I believe Brian Brennan was the test guy on this for his district. QSEN, I call it, but it's QAlert. So let's say Ike sees an issue out in his area of the city of Kenner. He's driving through Kenner, he sees it. Could be a resident, doesn't have to be a resident. You go onto QAlert, you tag it, you get into the online with it, you program, input your issue into it that you see. Duncan Canal, he doesn't like something at Duncan Canal. He puts that into it. It goes to that department that handles that. And now I can continue to see how it's coming along. It was the test in District 5. I believe it worked really well. We've been online since February with this. It's something that's used by a lot of residents. Some residents that come to the council meetings tell us how much they like it, and we hear it also from the general public too. So we're happy with this. This is something for field services, parkways, general services, wastewater, code enforcement, a lot of departments that service everyday services for the city of Kenner. Kenner Fire Department. We have maintained that Class 1 rating, and it's under the leadership of Terrence Morris, our fire chief, who's here with us today. Maintaining that level of rating is good for your insurance. If your insurance company works with you with that, we leave it to the insurance company, obviously. But maintaining that is good for the homeowner, but also it's good to let people know, move into the city of Kenner. We have a Class 1 rating in the city of Kenner. That's not, a lot of cities don't really have that. That is something that we need to be proud of. That's something we need to tell people about. He's also attracted 7 new firefighters, even with all the things that have been going on in this year, to his department. Now, we want to maintain those firemen. That's a tough challenge, maintaining those firemen. But we have a good program here in the city of Kenner for our fire department. I do say that we as residents don't fund it enough. That's something we need to look at in the future. The mills that we collect for the fire department, which was overwhelmingly put back in, which I said earlier, we still don't, and this has been a challenge that Joe remembers as a councilman. Our state rep now remembers as a councilman. I'm sure Nick remembers hearing this, even though he's the police chief. We always had to hear that we don't have enough mills. So that's something we need to look at in the future. I'm not advocating a new tax. I'm just saying it's something we need to look at to say, where do we go from here? How do we get comparable with other cities? But again, Terrence, Chief, I want to tell you thank you for the work that you do. It's important to me, it's important to this council, important to everybody in the city of Kenner, so we appreciate it. When you're talking about first responders and safety, enough can't be said about the Kenner Police Department, just like the fire department. Led by our chief, Mike Glazer. They do a great job, the men and women of the Kenner Police Department. When you look at serious crime, is down by 7% under Chief Glazer and also the Kenner men and women of the Kenner Police Department. That's good, because we do have a lot going on. Remember, people have been out of work. People have been displaced or lost things, and still we're able, he and the men and ladies, not us, he and the men and ladies of the Kenner Police Department and his staff are able to keep serious crimes down by 7%. Just recently, 6 Kenner Academy graduates graduated. A few of us went to that last week. That's important. He's still attracting people to the Kenner Police Department. And as you see a few pictures there, I think that's actually those 6 graduates, along with other areas, police men and ladies being sworn in, and just the community involvement that they have, Night Out Against Crime, and also a few of his guys pitching in front of the Nick Kingemi building, which is, I haven't been able to brag about that because I don't think we were able to do it since he named it the Nick Kingemi building with the help of Joe Stagney. So we appreciate that, Joe, and the state. So thank you to the Kenner Police Department also. Our largest healthcare provider in Louisiana, and obviously in the city of Kenner, is Ochsner Medical Center, right there on Loyola and West Esplanade. They have a table here today with us. We know a lot of those faces. It's important what Ochsner does. Just recently, they gave $50,000 to the Kenner Food Bank, another donor to the Kenner Food Bank. We appreciate that. Their community involvement is off the charts. We see them doing that all the time. As the pandemics hit, as we've had problems with the storms, they've always been on the phone calling me saying, hey, how can we do this? How can we help? Just recently, Nancy St. Germain called me and said, we want to do something at one of your buildings for a sign-up for healthcare. And that's something we want to work with Dominic Impostata Sr., Nick Impostata Sr., with Ochsner, with Nancy, to get that done, and I believe they're working on that. But the quality care, the service growth, and also the community response, as you see, look, it's a lot to mention, but it's this, the Care Checks Health System Awards that they get, again, in 2021. It goes to the expanded robotic surgeries that they do under service growth. And then they've remained open and being a community leader and a community friend, and those people are my friends, but also your friend as they move in the city of Kenner forward and not turn their back on anybody, but still want to put more in. So I want to say thank you to Ochsner. I really do appreciate it. So recreation's a problem right now, right? It's an issue. We lost, and I'll get to this when I talk about Ida, but we've lost all of our gyms with the roofs. So we can't really do a lot of the things that we do normally, basketball. The fields, you get into that, you can't do football because the fields may not be damaged, because people say, well, how do you damage property? Well, you damage the stands or the press box or something we're dealing with at Mus Bernalino and throughout. So those things have been challenging, but we need to make sure that people know, and please take that away from today, a lot of things that we're talking about, but recreation for our kids are very, very important. Coconut Beach Partnership, beach volleyball for boys and girls, they're offering that, so we're able to work with them on our property to get that going. Bowling night at AMF, All-Star Lanes, we're trying to do something, we're doing something with them to try and get our kids to go there, even adults. The First Tee is coming here to the city of Kenner, working with them with that. Golf lessons through First Tee, Greater New Orleans, being finalized. That's something we're going to work on. Currently, we have martial arts, tumbling, painting taking place at the Woodward Gym. That's someplace we can do something. Basketball and soccer will be coming as well, but those are coming in the future, guys. So it's not that we don't want to do it. I read something, and I try not to read this, but I read something on one of the naysayer pages on Facebook that said, nothing happening in the city of Kenner with recreation. Well, something happened. It was called Ida. So we can't do what we used to do. But these are the things that we are doing until we get back on track, until we settle with the insurance companies, until we get our money to reconstruct things. But it's coming, but these are the things that are going on right now. So I do appreciate your cooperation as we get through that. Okay, everybody loves to look at the Esplanade Mall grass, right? I get it. Again, we look at it too. Brannigan and I are on the phone a lot over the grass. That's something we have to deal with all the time. In June, we said, in July, we said, let's start cutting it ourselves, because we thought, and I'm not going to name any names, but we thought the owner would cut the grass, right? The owner's absent, guys. I mean, before Ida, and he knows this, they're absent. We just can't get that going. So we had to tackle that ourselves. I decided to go out there and cut the grass. So we hired an outside contractor. We started cutting the grass. You saw before, you see after. It probably needs to be cut again right now, but this was during the summer, so it was like every 2 weeks we're having to do it. So when people don't like the way it looks, so we cut it because we can't get them to cut it, then we got to hear, well, wait, you're spending our tax dollars. I'm spending our tax dollars right now cutting the grass, but we're leaning the property. They also owe us taxes, so we're going to get some money back. We're going to get that back eventually. But it's something that we have to deal with here, the mall. I never said when I was running for mayor, or since I've been mayor, that the mall will come back as you knew it back in the 80s. I never have said that. I've always said malls are kind of a thing of the past unless you're Lakeside Shopping Center. Even Clearview, if you go in Clearview lately, you'll see it's hit Clearview also. And what is Clearview doing? What I've talked about a long time ago. We need to make it a city center. We need to put something there that attracts it. So now, Clearview got it. Local owner, he got it. Lakeside doesn't really have to get it because Lakeside's popular. Out-of-town owner. Totally different when you have an out-of-town owner. And that's what we've been dealing with for a long time, not just this administration. Mike Segura had to deal with it as mayor and the former administration before that. We've always dealt with the mall since Katrina. I was a councilman. Maria was with me on a council, and so was Joe. When wasn't a councilman when Katrina hit, but we dealt with the aftermath of how it went down after Katrina. So being a councilman in those early days, dealing with the aftermath of Katrina, we're dealing with that again right now, but now it's already basically empty. The mall is not open right now. They have serious damage. The only things that are open are basically the anchors, except for, I think, 365 is another anchor. They're not open. But Dillard's is open, Target's open, we're in the Macy's building, and then you have the movie theater, which I think opened this past weekend, or shortly this week it will open. So we've taken that grass cutting on ourselves. The winter's here, so we don't have to worry about it as much, and that's something that we'll look at in the future, how we're going to continue to keep it looking like it should look like that. And look, I know it's not pretty when we cut it, because we're just cutting it. We just want to get rid of the rats and keep rats away and keep snakes away, all out that high grass, so that's why we're doing that, and also aesthetically. But as we're at the mall and we're doing different things, as we're there, we just recently had the drive-through trunk or treat, which I believe the majority of the council participated in. I know Dominic did. A lot of our I think Kirk did, our state senator. We had a lot of people out there. State Representative Debbie Villio was out there. I think Jason Ure was out there. It's important. You're showing people coming together after a pandemic, after a storm, and able to do it at the Macy's parking lot. These are the types of things we want to do at that shopping center to try and get activity. Most of those car shows I showed you before were done at the Macy's parking lot. So it shows people like going there and having an interest. So it was an awesome event. I want to thank everybody who was part of that. As we're doing more events, we brought back the Saints Hall of Fame, something that I've been working very closely with Ken Trahan with. This is something that originated here back in 1988, and it returned this past year. So happy that, as you see, Mike Segura and I have pitched it with Sean Payton. A lot of known names were there, and we appreciate them being there. So as we've had our troubles and we've had a few good things that have happened, and we keep trying to have more good things that happen, of course, we lost a lot of people this year, people that were important to the city of Kenner. The first one I want to talk about is a former mayor, a former parish councilman. I share two of the jobs that he had, I share with him, being a parish councilman, being a mayor. Louis Kingemi, Nick Kingemi's brother, a good friend of the city of Kenner. We lost him this past year. We lost a few Kenner City employees to COVID. A few to name, so I just want to say we lost a few of those Kenner employees, and we're sorry to lose those. Crew of Ice's captain, Cheryl Gorman. She comes to Kenner with her parade right before the pandemic, right before the world shuts down, right? She comes here. We got a miss last year with her. We're back on track for this year. We're working with them right now. Chad Pitfield's talking with them, working with something for this coming year to get ICES back. But we did lose Cheryl Gorman. And look, she was a big contributor to ICES, big contributor to the city of Kenner on how she was always there for a lot of events. The council will remember she was there with a lot of the food giveaways, a lot of the mask giveaways, Easter basket giveaway, just numerous things she was there for us. And also, we lost a basically known throughout the country, probably known throughout the world, rock and roll legend, Lloyd Price. Lost him. He's a Kenner native right here from the city of Kenner, born in District 1, and became, I'll say, world known for all his music that he put out there. So lost a few people, and I thought it'd be, because we lost so many important people, I thought it'd be right to recognize those people and say thank you to them for what they did for the city of Kenner. They're gone, but they're never forgotten. So all that was going on before Ida. And then Ida hits, August 29th. Things get a little bit even worse. And I always tell this story, because there's a lot of notes that I should be talking about, that it was 16 years ago from the day that Katrina hit. And that was probably Christy McKinney's fault, because at the last council meeting, she made a comment saying, I hope it doesn't hit like Katrina did. And it did, Christy. But we have lost a lot. Kenner City Hall is destroyed. The roof was ripped off. Dominic and I happened to show up that morning, I think 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. We walked through that building, and we said, yeah, this is a problem. I mean, it looked like Superman took the roof and did this, just peeled it back. And it was in the Greenwald Center's parking lot. That was one roof. Other roofs, too. We've had a lot of problems. And I knew we were going to have problems because Chad Pitfield, Kenny Melvin, myself, and a few other people working with the Kenner Police and Terrence Morris, working with the fire department, working with Chief Glazer. We had a plan, right? We had a plan that night as it was hitting, but before that too, to go out at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, whenever it passed, and we'd start putting these lights up and all that kind of stuff. I get a call from Pitfield. He says, I'm turning around, I can't get out of my subdivision. Then he gets out of his subdivision after he cuts his way out, and then he's got water on the street. So we did have some flooding water. But this was Katrina without the real flood. So we knew we had a problem. I want to thank the council. I want to thank the police department, Chief Glazer, Chief Morris with the fire department, everybody, every city employee, all the recruits. You see the water distribution, the police recruits, the fire recruits. Their class stopped, so they had to have something to do. They didn't have to do this, but the chief sent them to us. You had recruits of the police department helping direct traffic. You had recruits of the fire department loading water in trucks. All the outreach, Ochsner I talked about, Treasury Chest I talked about, all the outreach from a group I'd never heard of before, Community of Hope, that I think Christy and George brought to us, that was important. They took over the Esplanade Mall right by Church of the King, sorry. You see me pictured there with tents, with stuff that came in. I had never seen so much input, because I wasn't elected during Katrina, but I guess it was like this, and Mike Segure would tell me that. But all the input that came from all over the place, and all the help that came from all over the place, we'll never forget. But if you weren't here, it was poor living conditions. And the council was here with me. And I remember many, many conversations, how are we gonna get running water back? Ronnie Maines and Joe Stagney both stepped up to the plate the night, as it's hitting, I'm on the phone with both of them. Joe called me, I called Ronnie, getting water sent in on Tuesday morning. That was quick. And I appreciate it, guys, because we wouldn't have made it without that water. We had nothing. Nothing was here. Stores weren't open, and people weren't here. It was a lot to go through. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I want to give credit to Kenner Media, Chris Fortunata, Robin, and Bobby for what they've done for this today. I want to thank you for this today. But most of all, for the video. Yeah, I know this is getting a little bit long. I'm sorry, Carolyn, but this is a lot to go over. But a video that Chris and her team did, also with Tara, that they put this together, and it shows what we've gone through. And I saw it for the first time yesterday, and I looked at her and I said, Chris, this is quality like you see, hate to say this, but outside of here. We've never seen that kind of quality come out of the city of Kenner on what she did. It's a true testimonial. It's very, very, it's a little heartbreaking at sometimes, because it is what we went through and what we had to deal with, and she put this together fine. I'll come back up after she's finished, but I want to thank Chris and her team for doing this. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. Hurricane Ida is now nearly 3 months behind us, and if you're among the lucky, it's just a memory. But for many of us, Hurricane Ida left an indelible mark. The devastation was massive. The response from your city employees and leadership was immediate and heroic. The recovery, monumental and ongoing. Our Kenner Media team has been there to document this catastrophic event from the day Ida made landfall. Our team produced a video to share just a little of our personal perspective. So if we could have your undivided attention for just a few minutes, this is our story.
For us, the biggest change occurred on that Saturday when the storm intensified very, very rapidly, and it went from just I think a Category 2 hurricane all the way up to a Category 4.
We respond up until conditions deteriorate to the point where it's not safe for us to respond.
As the day went on, the weather got progressively worse, and that's when water started to come into the building.
I mean, there was lots of noises you're not used to hearing, which, it's very loud, and kind of upsets you.
It seemed like it was over us for an extended period of time, and the amount of wind that was coming on shore was just relentless.
You know, at one point, the building was shaking, was shaking so badly. I told Mike, I said, we were on the 4th floor at the time. I said, you think we need to go downstairs? And he said probably the best thing I had heard throughout the whole event. He said, if this building collapses, do you really want to be at the bottom?
The wind was getting up into the 120 mile an hour range at some point during the thing, and those windows were screaming, literally screaming. You couldn't concentrate on what you were doing. All you heard was those windows.
I was a little concerned about, you know, how far it would come and whether or not it would impact, how much of the city would impact, and to what extent we would see any type of rise in water.
It started coming in through the stairwells, which you would think would be the strongest part of the building, but they have skylights at the top of it, so the water, even in a normal thunderstorm, water would come into those skylights, but it was almost, it was a torrent.
The stairwell was full of water.
I was upstairs on the 4th floor just watching it, and that's when I noticed I hadn't seen Mike in about 15 minutes, and I thought, I wonder where Mike is.
When I went outside to look for the hot spot, I didn't realize that the storm had somehow killed the power to that outside door, and when I tried to get back in, there was no electricity going through the door, so the cart swipe wouldn't work. And when I tried to pry it open, it was so wet from the storm, and with the actual winds blowing, you know, into that area anyway, it was very hard to move the door.
So I decided to go look for him. I don't know what something said, go look for him. So I went down to the 3rd floor, and then the 2nd floor, and then the 1st floor. When I got to the 1st floor was pretty much flooded at that point, probably about 2 to 3 inches of water, except for one corner of it. And I looked to the right, which would have been the back door of the building, and I looked and I didn't see anything.
So I decided to go around the building to the other side to try that door. And while I was walking around the buildings, the wind was so bad that I ended up having to grab each of the parking spot poles, because I'm a 330-pound guy, and it was pulling me like I was a skateboard with nothing on it.
And I looked and I saw this silhouette outside, and because it was dark, and then Mike is just knocking on the door, so I ran over to the door because I realized he had been stuck outside.
Finally got to the back door, and that door would not open either. So I stood in the corner, just kind of huddled up facing the wall.
It took both of us to pry the doors open because the wind was so strong just to get them in.
And then at some point, Leon came downstairs and just kind of noticed me in the corner and came open the door, and I was freezing my butt off.
So he was out there for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and at that point, at least 120 miles an hour, sustained winds. You know, it was beating him up bad.
Holy crap.
At the time the incident was reported to us, our phone lines are still up, so 911 is still up, and we received about 17 calls, 18 calls, somewhere 20 calls of reports of fire. At the time it was reported, I think we had sustained winds of about 80 miles an hour. And the last gust we had registered at the EOC here was around 112 miles an hour, which is, the wind in and of itself is totally ineffective for any type of water flow, because you know the wind speed will substantially misdirect a water stream. With no water pressure, we had to resort to an alternative means of water supply. And the guys did a great job of locating one. It was a loading dock for one of the buildings where the water just pool, and they were able to draft and shelter water. It wasn't on the site of the fire, but it was away from the fire, and they did a great job of preventing any further spread.
I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I mean, I've been through hurricanes before, and that was pretty bad.
I was anticipating a lot of downed trees, a lot of power lines down. It surprised me the amount of debris that we had as far as the amount of trees and power lines. The amount of power lines down was surprising to me.
The next morning, we went outside right at because I mean, we slept a couple hours maybe, and then as soon as the first light, we went outside to see that the roof had been ripped off of buildings A and B and landed in the tree and on the Greenwald Center behind it.
We ended up going through building B first. Literally as soon as we got the door open, there was the loudest screeching fire alarm I've ever heard. I mean, it literally caused pain. It was so loud. And we went through the buildings. All of building B's first floor, you could tell it had at least 3 or 4 inches of water. I mean, all the computers, the wiring, everything was underwater. I mean, you could see your footprints as you're walking.
No roof. Literally can look straight outside.
But as you see, it's a wipeout. Some offices are fine, okay, but the water damage has leaked in. So most of the assistants have problems. The good news is we'll figure this out. We'll rebuild somewhere and move on, or find a new home somewhere.
Well, part of the challenge at that point was find anything, any place. Macy's was at that point unoccupied. Because it was unoccupied, because it had not been occupied in a long time, we had to start trying to put systems back together. The first week we had 3,000 square feet and we had signage up all over town, and it basically said, you know, no permit required to fix your roof, no permit required to fix your fence, but code is open in City Hall. The city is open in City Hall. If you have any questions, you can drive through. It was literally a drive-through. For now, to be able to say that every single city service is happening somewhere.
The amount of damage and damage to our infrastructure, our power infrastructure, was significant. And certainly the amount of wind was concerning.
But the reality of just looking at people's houses, or you're looking at that, this is Katrina without the high water, but it's more wind. So you're worried about the people. We have no water. We have no water pressure. So training kicks in. What's the first thing we got to do? We got to get water and ice.
That's good. That's good. You're good.
We're going all the way to the end.
All right, you good.
So a lot of our employees lost everything. And what they do the morning after losing everything is show up at work to help us, help the people of Kenner who've lost everything. So that's, I mean, it can make me cry, but that's one of the joys of what we get to do, because those people, our employees, will help people they don't know.
So Nick knows we've been here before. Lawrence knows we've been here before with the parish, the city. Dave assisting us, the parish in the past. We're going to rebuild, and we're on that track. Again, I'm sorry this has been so long, but it's just a lot to cover, guys. It's been a lot that's going on this year. But as you see, we are definitely going to make it. We're going to move forward. And I try to have a special announcement at the end. And as people, I insinuated this before, as people have made fun of some people, not you all, not the business organization, as some naysayers have made fun of the ribbon cuttings, as some people have said, you know, economic development and the board is a joke, as some people have said that's not going to become anything but paper. Well, the paper has now become reality. I talked about before about rebuilding what's going to happen in Laketown. I talked about there's going to be an announcement of something in Rivertown. With the help of a Kenner resident, a Kenner businessman, coming, getting attracted by the TSW study, just want involvement in the city of Kenner. We've had to be quiet about this. So quiet, because we had an NDA, that the council just found out last night or during the day yesterday. And I apologize, council, but when you're doing these types of things, you got to be quiet, right? Non-disclosure agreements lead to being quiet. But those non-disclosure agreements lead to what I'm going to talk about. The hub in Rivertown. It will totally change Rivertown. It is something that we're setting up over here for you to look at after. Ronnie Maines and Mr. Noel will be over there to talk to you all, to talk to me also about what we're going to do with that. But CRC, with his friends, with his investors, have come to this friend and the council to do something different in Rivertown. It'll be multiple investors are interested in this. It'll have the Port of Orleans, the brewery. That's the type of things that's coming to the city of Kenner with other investors that'll be there. So it'll be a place that now you can go to. Everybody's always said, what's Rivertown going to be? What are you doing with Rivertown? Well, guys, we've been working on it. We've been working on it during a pandemic. We've been working on it during 2 storms, another pandemic. We have been working. So as people say, what are y'all doing? Leave here today and say this administration, this council, along with local investors, with this staff, the executive staff, with all of our city employees, we are working. We are working to produce what tomorrow is going to be. Tomorrow in Kenner is what you see here. So from the river, and I think I started this off in the beginning, from the river to the lake, we are working on economic development. We're making some changes. We're taking some whippings as we're doing it. I'm okay with that because the leaders have to take a few whippings. You have to take a few criticisms. Sometimes they get a little outrageous, but I'm not really worried about it because what I'm worried about is getting stuff like this here at the river and also at the lake. 3 major projects I talked about today. This administration, along with this council, are working. We're working to make Kenner better. In spite of all the setbacks, we'd be a lot further, guys. Ronnie would probably already be somewhat finished with some of the buildings if we wouldn't have had the setbacks, because we have been working on this for the last 1.5 years, 2 years. I don't apologize for keeping it a secret, because the secret is now going to be a reality. With that, please come over here and look at what Rivertown's going to look like. Again, thanks to Ronnie and all his crew, all his investors, of what they're doing. We appreciate their involvement, their contributions to the city of Kenner, and that's going to be important. So thank y'all. If anybody has any, I know it's been long. I said that a few times, but if anybody has any questions, we'll be right over here. If you have a quick question, Carolyn, if we have time. I don't know if we have time. Okay. But we will be over here if anybody has a question. All right, let me move over here. That's good. Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Zahn. And for speaking, we're gonna donate to the National Kidney Foundation in your name. So we really appreciate you speaking, KBA. Thank you.